Hi, my name is Master Josh Arcemont. So not too long into my Taekwondo journey, I was about a yellow belt, and my instructor came to me and said that there's this tournament coming up. He invited me and a couple other friends. He said it was the Texas State Championship. In my mind, I just had flashbacks to the only reference I had, which is the Karate Kid. Finish him! And I was nervous, I didn't want to do it, but since my friends were doing it, I decided, let's go for it. So we traveled to Dallas and I competed in this tournament. I was nervous. My first match was against a friend of mine, and throughout the years we would, compete against each other a lot. And sometimes he would win, sometimes I would win. Well, this particular tournament, this first one, I won, and I got a first place. I was like, awesome! This is the first time in my life that I've ever done something and been successful at it, and I love that feeling. Then I was eligible to go compete at the national tournament, and that year was in Chicago. I had no idea what I was doing. I was a yellow belt. Nervous, I can't even tell you how nervous I was. And I went in there, I won a couple matches, did pretty good, and I lost the last match to the guy who went on to win the entire tournament. So I thought to myself, man, pretty much I got, second place is the way I looked at it, right? The only guy I lost to was the guy who won first. And so I was kind of hooked after that. Over the course of the next few years, I went on a mission to compete. Never really enjoyed competition, but I looked at it as a means to improve myself as a martial artist, to test myself as a martial artist, and to go back to training and tweak things. And so that's what I did. I started competing in tournaments in Dallas and Fort Worth and all over Houston. And by the time I was a red belt, it was 1996, my instructor came to me and said that, he wanted me to compete in the black belt division. Once you're a black belt division, that's it. That's the top, right? That's the ultimate. So at that time I was 17 years old, about to turn 18 years old, knowing that I'd be competing with the adult black belts. So my first black belt tournament, I went in there and I won my first match against this, guy who was a third-degree black belt. I was super nervous. I actually hit him with a really nice, sweet spinning back kick to the face, and I was kind of nervous, thinking, what if this guy's gonna want revenge? But I ended up winning the match, surprising myself. And then the next match, I went up against a very intimidating opponent. I did pretty good. I lost the match, but I held my own. Well, the very next week was the Texas State Championship. We go in there and there's like 30 guys lined up that year to compete. It was me, Rodney, and Dale from my school competing in this black belt division. And Steven Lopez was in that division. There were many other national champions in that division. Well, Dale goes up his first match and he has to compete against Steven Lopez, who would go on to become world champion, Olympic champion multi-times. And of course, Dale lost that first match. And then Rodney went up next and he won his match against a former national champion. I won my match, and then Rodney goes up again and he ends up getting his leg caught on his opponent's shoulder, and because of that he falls down, hits his head on, back then we didn't have mats, he hit his head on the basketball court, and even with head protection he's knocked out, he was unconscious. And so everybody from our team kind of left and went to the hospital to go check on him. And so the very next match, I had to go against the guy that Rodney went up against. And so I remember being kind of angry and wanting to take out my frustration that, I just saw my friend get knocked out. And I ended up winning the match. And they told me, congratulations, you made it to the finals. Now you got to face Steven Lopez. Obviously he beat me in that match and got first place. I got second. And then, he would go on to become the guy he is now. And what's funny about that story is that, I got second place that year, and I would go back usually almost every year and compete, and I would always get second place, third place, sometimes nothing. Finally, somewhere in the 2000s, I decided I'm gonna compete one more time and give it a shot. And I went in there, I won my first match and won my second match. It was a close match. I had some really tough competition, but in my final match, I landed this beautiful flying side kick, and I set this guy up, kind of trapped him into attacking me, and I landed this beautiful spinning hook kick, which won me the match and ultimately gave me an opportunity to become Texas State champion that year. And so I always tell my students, it takes about 10,000 hours of practice, about 10 years to master something. And I had that goal of winning, but it took me 10 years of trying to finally get it. So the lesson there is, guys, don't give up, keep going. Whether it's competition in life, competition in school, whether it's a goal you set out to achieve, just keep going. And at first, if you don't succeed, that's okay. Give yourself time. Just don't ever give up. And eventually you can achieve your goal too.